which is a department of Indian National Congress in this milieu. Today we are going to debate on a topic which is very near and dear to my heart and to the heart of the president of the diversity group as well. So we are going to debate on achieving gender diversity in the corporate world, which is still a distant dream. Is it or is it not? That is what the contention is in today's date. But just to set a little bit of prior history, 1974 was the year in which Towards Gender Equality report has been published by the Indian government. It took nearly 50 years, 5 decades, for Indian government to be able to achieve less than 20%, that is 19% participation of women in the labor force. That is where the statistics lies, and that is where equality in India is today. Even today's date, 21st century, as we stand here, out of the gender gap that we have, for every 100 males, we have 91 females being born. And that is especially due to the culture of nurturing a baby boy. And that is how foeticides get encouraged in this country. That is where we stand in gender diversity. Today, women are going places. They're going to the space, they're flying aircrafts, they're in the army, they're in the military, they're in all sorts of works of life. But when you see the corporates, you will see only 7.7%, ladies and gentlemen, is the participation of women in the boards of the corporates in India. And even less, 4.7% women make it to the position of a CEO. So, setting that context, let us debate today. Let us call upon Ishani Bhattacharya to come and felicitate all of our lovely panelists. Ishani, please. We will start off with Mr. Sujoy Banerjee, CPO, Gainwell, India. Can we have a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Then we have Ms. Sampa Bhowmick, Head HR, MCPI on Mitsubishi Chemicals. Now my ex-boss, Mr. Sribesh Beltharia from Shyam Steel Industries Limited. Mr. Asif Iqbal from the consulting industry. Ms. Mahua, founder MyCoolGuru.com and an entrepreneur. Can we have the applause, please? Let's welcome them. Let's give them a warm welcome. And finally, Ms. Poonam Mundhra, founder, CEO, PM Consultants. Ladies and gentlemen, this event will help us understand the ground realities of gender diversity in India. It will help us understand the gender minority and the condition of women in today's date. So before we begin, we would like to felicitate Mr. Pradeep Gooptu, Founder, Secretary, Bengal Initiative and Founder, Trustee, Calcutta Debating Circle. He is the moderator for the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed, I would like Mr. Chandan Ghosh, the President of AIPC West Bengal, to make the welcome from here. Come in.
Thank you. Do I need a mic or?
Of course.
Okay. Namaskar. Good afternoon to everyone. সবাইকে আমি এখানে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি আজকের এই অনুষ্ঠানে। It's my great honor and privilege that I'm standing here and welcoming all our panelists sitting here. Special welcome to Mr. Pradeep Gooptu. Sir, thank you very much for coming. I welcome all the professionals coming from different organizations. Welcome to my colleagues, friends in AIPC. Thank you very much for organizing this event. Kingshuk is the head of diversity vertical team. He has organized it very nicely with his team. Thank you very much. I will not say many things about diversity event now because lot will come up after me. I think Mr. Rahul Bose will come and talk about that. But one thing is very clear what Deepshika was saying, that we need diversity at every layer of the organizational pyramid in corporates. Why we need it? It is very simple. Diversity brings excellence. We think differently, we do things differently. So if we have a mix of brains, we do excellently, extremely well. So it is important that we understand this issue, and that's why you are going to debate this, and we'll see the outcome. Now, the outcome of this, ladies and gentlemen, we will follow what you say, and this will be the trigger point, because AIPC is a professional organization. We work on policy matters, right? We do not form policies. We are not in government. But what you say will be very important. It will be captured. It will get into a document that is called Bengal Roadmap, the document that we build for Bengal's future. And this will be shared with our senior leaders, and they will at the proper forum, they will talk about this issue, right? So that's why this event is very, very important. And one or two words about AIPC. I don't think many of you have heard about All India Professional Congress. Let me say a few words. All India Professional Congress was formed in the year 2017. Here we, it's a department or cell of Indian National Congress. But we are not into direct political activism, but we do, we create platform where we discuss policy making. Like today we are doing a debate event. So here we follow, of course, Congress ideology. The ideology is very simple. The values, basic values of life, that we respect diversity, we respect inclusivity, we respect everyone, every individual's right to express their thoughts. So that's what we follow in AIPC. We are a small team, but I can tell you this extremely talented team that we have here. We have got doctors, we have got engineers, we have got corporate people from corporate, teachers, we have got lawyers from different fields. So if anybody is Dr. Shashi Tharoor, by the way, is the chairman of our organization, All India organization, and I head the unit in Bengal. So I'm the president here. If anybody is interested, you can visit our website. You will get all the details about All India Professional Congress. Once again, thank you very much for coming here. It is very excellent. It gives me a great feeling, and I'll be waiting there, watching you and listening to all your comments that you make about diversity. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Chandra. So, ladies and gentlemen, as Chandra was mentioning, the objective of having these kind of debates and deliberations is to have suggestions made to the government in making policies. Policies which are more dynamic, policies which are for the day, policies which are balanced. And right now, the right to equality and right to equal opportunity enshrined in the Magna Carta Article 14 of the Constitution is something that we are going to deliberate on today. So without further ado, let us set the context. Let me welcome Mr. Rahul Bose to come up on stage to set the context. Mr. Rahul Bose.
Thank you, Deepshika. Okay, can I see a wave of hands? We are all alive?
Yo.
That is important. We are all alive. It's a Chhat Puja afternoon. And I thank each one of you for not having your afternoon siesta. Because in Calcutta that is popular on a Sunday afternoon, that is most logical. Not to have come for a debate, but to have a bhadghum. But I thank each one of you for making your time and effort to be here. And this is about equity. So wherever, like yesterday night I was supporting East Bengal, like I always do, more so because they were trailing. I always feel that people who are not making it, they need to be supported.
My sympathies are with you.
You are a Mohan Bagan, so you beat me.
I didn't say anything.
That is the master moderator, Mr. Pradeep Gooptu. So as I said, I'm not a gender specialist, but I've seen this since 1984 in BHL at every level. When I was an engineer trainee, number of female trainees were less. So there was one Mukta Sagar and 1,500 Rahul Boses. So they got the attention. We used to like them. But then at every stage, whether it's an assistant manager or a deputy manager or at a board level, I have seen few people. In a multinational in IBM, my boss asked me in 2004, "Hey, Raghu, can you tell me about GLBT?" I didn't understand. 22 or 18 years ago, then I understood what is GLBT standing for. So, which was much later. So, the consciousness that diversity can, and here I, would want Asif's input, that diversity is not only about gender, it's about including people who are of a different demographics, who can bring in so much more value. For example, if you are given a team, and in an IT industry, we always find this, if you're given a team full of Kolkata and full of Shambajar, will you like it? Or would you like an international team? Would you like a Ronaldo or a Messi? Or, a Beckham into your team? So together we make it so better. It's about gender. It's also about including a lot of people. And finally, one final comment, because the time is short. In 1970, you will recall that Bobby Riggs lost to Billie Jean King. So that was my first defining moment, that a woman is possibly better than a guy if given an equal chance. And in 1961, when Mahanapur was made, the last shot, where Anil and Madhavi come out, so that was the time when females didn't work for many reasons. Like my mother was a working person, but in those days, those times have changed, and I really admire people who have come up so far and have come here to speak on behalf of claiming that we are an equal partner in progress. So I wish you all the best. With that, I think the speakers have already been introduced. I really wish this event a lot of success to Mr. Pradeep Gooptu. King Shuk is the next speaker. King Shuk has been the life of the party. Can we give a big, big round of applause?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not a great speaker. I cannot speak well. I cannot give speeches, although I'm a professor. So I'm not going to bore you all, because I know you guys are waiting for this wonderful event, this debating event which will take place. Just 2 minutes. This topic, gender and diversity, is very close to my heart. I'm doing my research in this, and I'm not going to crunch any numbers or anything. Just one short thing. We are all human beings. We are all equal. Article 14 to 21, we have read that. So whether you are a woman, man, transsexual, transgender, be it from any religion, any part of the world, Honolulu, Timbuktu, whatever, at the end of the day, we are humans, and we all need equal opportunities. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, King Shuk. That was the president of the Diversity and Inclusion Group. Can we have a big round of applause for King Shuk Bhattacharya for making all the efforts to build this program today? So, ladies and gentlemen, kursi ki peti bandh dijiye. Let us start off with the debate. It's going to be a heated up debate, as I have already pushed all the panelists to see. So let's go over to Mr. Pradeep Gooptu, who's the moderator for the event today.
I thank the organizers for having me over. I don't know what entitles me to this honor of appearing on your platform more than once, but evidently I think it's a rare privilege to thank you so much for having me on a second time. The motion behind us is something that takes a lot of courage to approach either way. To even talk of gender diversity may not be a very happy thing in this country, all over this country. We are a divided country on this issue. The second is, here we are dealing only with corporates. And I think while I'm sure the speakers will focus on corporates, we actually need to look at everybody who contributes to creation of wealth, the spreading of goodness, the delivery of welfare, compassion, and humanity in public life. So we'll stick to corporates, I'm sure, but that's because corporates are the flavor of the season. Capitalism is the flavor of the world, and therefore corporates are what we discuss at most platforms these days. But there was a time when I was young, way back in the last century. There existed a parallel platform for wealth creation, administration, governance, and other things, and that was called communism. And in fact, believe you me, one of the more popular debate topics when I was in college was the social progress that appeared to have been a higher scoring ground for communism than it was for capitalism. In other words, in some of the former Soviet communist countries like the Soviet Union, it used to appear that things like gender equality had been achieved in a far greater extent than what we were seeing in capitalist societies in UK or USA or France or Western Europe or Japan, which were then the beacons of capitalism at that time. But I keep on narrating history because I'm very old, so bear with me. So with these few words, we have an order of speakers, but before that, we need a timekeeper. Who's the timekeeper? You're the timekeeper, and how will you tell us if somebody's time is over? Your phone will ring?
Yeah, my
Okay.
phone will.
Can you give us an advance that is 30 seconds left?
Can you give an advance 30 seconds before the end of time?
Okay.
Can you do that? Okay. And the speakers will speak for approximately 5 minutes each, and then we want to make it interactive. I have the assurance of the organizers. So in the first round of interactivity, we will have the speakers questioning each other, the two sides for and against questioning each other. And then in the second part of that interactive session, I think we would encourage some questions from the audience, and there is a mic that is hanging out there which can travel around the hall. So with these very simple ground rules and opening comments, and there's a big tape here. I'm sure it's not for muzzling anybody's speech. So if you remove it, we'll all feel more comfortable. Thank you. So with these few words, this is the side which is speaking for the motion. And they firmly believe that gender equality is a distant dream as far as corporates are concerned. And the first speaker for the motion, as is usual, will be the first speaker for the debate, whereas the last speaker will be the last speaker against the motion. So may I request Poonam to please set the ball rolling. You want to speak at the lectern or sit and speak? Everybody can see her? Okay. So can we have a round of applause for the first speaker of this afternoon's debate? We look forward to hearing it.
I know I'm quite short, so if I'm not being visible, let me know. I can stand up and say, I think that will be much better over here. Namaskar everyone. Thank you so much. As Rahul equally said, Bhatar Bhum Duta Chede Amra Ekhane Esechi. So that actually makes sense. To start it off, I like to say, I always believe in what my dad told me. He was an eminent lawyer of this part of this country, and he told me that man of quality respects women's equality. So that has always been with me through the years of my life. And friends, I don't believe in when I say equality means women's or men's. For me, equality means getting an equal opportunity for everyone in a working atmosphere. It should be men's, women's, transgenders, and everyone. So having a good progress of women, it gives strength to an organization for an empowerment of a nation. When we are talking about over here, we can see a number of companies who have come forward. The companies like ACL, Nestle, Infoed, Zomato, and other Dr. Reddy's laboratories. These are the companies which have come forward and they have included gender diversity in their company. And we can see the kind of these companies getting a growth because of these inclusions. Over here, when we are talking promptly about women's empowerment, we are always also talking about gender equality. So I believe as we are having a time, I think I should move to Mahua because she should get it forward from here. I'll be better in the debate round. Thank you, Mahua.
You have 5 minutes. So.
I'll get it back to next time.
Okay, so we'll pass on to the team against the motion. Keep the mic with you, thank you. And may I request Sujoy Banerjee to set the ball rolling to counter what Poonam has said. Poonam has made a very important point that gender is no longer a binary. There is a diversity. But at the same time, she's made another very important point. It's diversity, but can we ignore equality, equity, when we are discussing diversity? So maybe the word diversity includes equity as well. Sujoy, over to you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm a bit of a traditional debater, so I would like to pay my respects to the moderator and the chair. So, respected chair and members of the House and the opposition. I think Poonam made life a bit easier for me. She quoted companies which have already included women and have seen success. So, she talked about Dr. Reddy's, she talked about Nestle, and she set the tone for the three of us to actually prove that, yes, corporates are including women into their boards, into their leadership roles, into their management, and seeing success. So I would like to say that I would like to play on the word distant. It's not a distant dream. It is there. The corporates have made their start. The corporates are ready to reach there. And the corporates have started moving towards that. It's not a distant dream. I would like to prove my point with a few data points, because data speaks and data proves. And people like Rahul and other people sitting, engineers, data means the most important thing for them, and especially from companies like IBM and tech companies, data is the buzzword. McKinsey in a report very recently said that companies with greater diversity and inclusiveness have 35% more chances of being successful. Fortune 500 companies, nearly 7% of the Fortune 500 companies have women CEOs. The GDP of a nation increases 26% by a diverse workforce. Gender diverse companies are 15% more likely to notice high financial returns. A lot of people in the HR sector follow the Glassdoor to figure out how your ex-employees have responded after leaving the organization. What we have seen is 2 out of 3 job candidates actually see companies which have a diverse workforce. That's the new generation. They're looking at diverse organizations which encourage diversity and inclusiveness. And for the sake of the conversation this afternoon, I'm going to talk about gender diversity. I know diversity is very inclusive. It is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's a much broader subject. But to keep ourselves confined to gender diversity in the corporate world, I would like to just keep my data and my arguments based on that. 74% of the millennial employees believe that the organization is more innovative when it has a culture of inclusion. And 47% actually look for diversity and inclusion. And gender diversity. Women now hold 18% of board seats in India. 18%, that's data. Up from 13% in 2017 and 6% in 2013 based on E&Y report. So it's data. It's not figure coming out of thin air. Recently, ITC has announced a scheme for the senior managers. If the senior women managers, if they're traveling, can take their baby along with a nanny on business trips. That's an initiative which ITC has announced to ensure that the women leadership, the women talent is retained within the organization. So corporate India is not sleeping. Corporate India is moving, corporate India is aware, corporate India is conscious that gender diversity brings about more innovation, more energy, and more inclusiveness of the workforce. One of the companies I work for, I started my career with Tata Motors in Jamshedpur. They have aggressively started working on including women even at the shop floor level. MG Motors, new company in India, Hero Motocorp, Bajaj, they've all started having more and more women employees. Mahindra & Mahindra has hired 150 women for its automotive and farm equipment. So there are hundreds of examples. HUL in the nail products factory has a line totally managed by women. There are 39 employees, 4 are managers, 11 are executive, and 24 at the blue collar level. So you can see women are across various levels of the organizational pyramid. I can go on, but then the timekeeper has said I've got little time. So Data is there to prove that achieving gender diversity in the corporate world is maybe a dream, but it is not a distant dream. It is not distant. We are there. The doors have opened. We just got to walk in and make it happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sujoy. He's been giving us not only data to support the his logic and his theory for gender diversity, he is also telling us that while it might appear to be a dream, the reality at present is also very encouraging. And we need to understand that we have made substantial progress. I was very happy that he referred to the practice of ITC, and which is indeed a progressive policy. In fact, I can tell you that till the 1990s, three of the most powerful faces of corporate India in Kolkata, in this part of the country, were three ladies. Aditi Shyam in ITC, Rita Bhimani in Indian Aluminium, and my own aunt, Oloka Gooptu, in Indian Oxygen. They used to head the communications department and reporting directly to the board. And not only that, one of the leading advertising agencies in India was actually run by a lady, Tarasin Associates, who was the most amazing brain and mind that you could meet at that time, because she was not only extremely compassionate, almost like a Mother India figure to a young reporter like me, but also a reporter and debater, somebody who asks awkward questions, even on a good day. But she was also so helpful when it came to extending your contacts and meeting people. So I was very lucky that my professional life was actually helped by such outstanding women. But they were not in HR. They were in communication. They were in media. They were in advertising. The world has transitioned a bit, which it should, but nonetheless, we remember them because they were so few. We are trying to find out whether that few has become normal and also not a binary. Every type of gender has become normal. So, Asif, you will go second.
Yes.
You can sit and speak. My good friend Asif Iqbal, he is somebody who I immensely respect, and we see him at all the Calcutta Debating Circle events as an enthusiastic participant. So Asif, over to you, 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for this great opportunity, and with all due respect to my opposition, that at corporate, it's still a distant dream. We're living, ladies and gentlemen, in 2022. 15% of the 500 Fortune companies are the CEOs who is a female. Like Sujoy mentioned, 6% according to EY report that in India, CEOs are women. Can you believe it? One of the studies point out that we still have pay parity. Women are not getting equally paid as in their male counterpart. And the study further indicate and estimate that in 2059, there would be a position where we can claim that entire world is equal pay in terms of male and female. Yes, I do agree the inclusion journey has started, but the destination is still far-fetched. Still, in living in 2022, and I work for consulting organizations, we still have inter-debate. Should we put this lady on this assignment because this requires a travel? Should we put this lady on that assignment because she's on maternity leave and she might not, when she's coming back and she might not be able to spend so much time? We have all these questions. We have great initiatives started by companies. Yes, I do agree. The workforce is changing. The workforce is getting diverse. Even in consulting organizations, very happy to report 35% of the workforce is gender. But it has just started. It should not be going with, we still have solutions, but we have policies in place. But the biggest victim of will take not 1 day, 2 days, but a long journey road ahead to transform the cultural thoughts that what we feel. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm also going to dwell on the fact on inclusion, because I, being blind for over 28 years, in the year 2010, when I wanted to adopt a girl, consciously, I thought, everyone is so progressive thinking. I applied to one of the agencies where I was bluntly told that no girl would like to have a father who was blind. But fortunately, I had a faith, the process done, and I'm a proud father of that. And my girl now is 11 years old. But now what I'm trying to embrace, and the fact that the change starts from each one of us. We as a society have a role to play. And this journey, I still think the journey is still a distance because of the fact that it is collecting of all of us. Once he was sitting and resting. One of his disciples came to him and he said, Swamiji, I have a bad news. My relative is diagnosed with a disease and is going to lose all of his eyesight. Swamiji didn't respond. Disciple probably thought that he didn't listen to him, and he came saying with a louder voice, Swamiji, some terrible news. My relative is going blind and you're not even concerned. Third time, again he yelled, Swamiji, please do something for me. And then Swamiji openly smiled and he said, he may be losing his eyesight. He has not lost his inner vision. So ladies and gentlemen, corporate in terms of gender equality and inclusion is still a distant dream because the fact that we choose not to change ourselves, we choose not to embrace the change, we choose not to not to recognize the equal opportunity that everyone should have. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Asif. I'm so glad that you mentioned one of these the basic lines that we keep on narrating whenever we discuss projects in the Rotary Club, which I belong to, which is, if you want to achieve change, be that change. Otherwise, don't even try to achieve. Don't try to help the underprivileged segment of society by just doing charity, giving a shirt, giving a meal. Teach that person how to live a livelihood so that he can then be himself. He can be like you. I have a livelihood. I should empower others to have a livelihood. So that is what it means. Be the change you want to see. Thank you, Asif, for raising that point. But he's also introduced an extremely technical and a very crucial point about pay disparity, which is something that is critical. I mentioned a few celebrity or top-notch professionals who were ladies in the previous generation. But the point is, I'm quite sure, we were not sensitive to it, but if I were to retrieve the annual reports from the ROC of those years, I would see that a person of similar qualification and rank and experience, if that person was a male employee, possibly they would have drawn a higher allowance and if not a higher pay. I'm sure that if the disparity exists in 2021, as Asif has told us, it must have existed in a more disturbing degree, even at that time in the 1990s and early 2000s. So we come to the fourth speaker, who is none other than Sampa, and Sampa will move to the dais and convince you that the progress we have achieved is good enough to make us feel that gender diversity is indeed in our hands as far as the corporates are concerned. So, but I'm sure this debate will not be reduced to a debate on timelines, whether we've achieved it today, whether we will achieve it in 2035, or whether it has been achieved in 7.5 days ago. I don't think we're discussing a timeline. We're discussing the logical construct. Over to you.
Thank you, respected moderator, my opposition members and my group members, and all the audience over here. My job is little easy. I think Sujoy has already started and established with certain data. So my first point would be to share that I believe it's not a distant dream. It may be dream, but not a distant dream in corporate. And I'd like to further take it forward with some data, because with data only the belief comes. But prior to that, taking a clue on the pay parity, what our moderator just now mentioned, that on 27th October, I think 3 days back, there is a very landmark decision BCCI has made. And probably you know that we are all aware about that. It talks about fees for, equal fees for, there should be no discrimination between the male and the female cricketers. So why I said this, that corporate is a part of that ecosystem. So something is happening around that gets, affected as well. So, and in corporate there are, many, initiatives are being adopted. So I'll just go few. Like already it was mentioned, still I'm mentioning that in 2014 the board representation was 6%, in 2022 it is 18%. We all know that is necessitated by the enactment, that 2013 change in the law, but still that has happened. So we should celebrate whatever small progression has happened, and we should feel good about it and be positive. Of course we should not be satisfied or be complacent about it, but then there are some positive movement there. In terms of the CEO percentage, in 2018 it was 3.4%, in 2022 it is 4.7%. We know it's only 1% progress, but still there is a progress. So corporate is not lagging behind. In 2014, there were 14% organization who had equal pay, kind of anti-discrimination and equal pay kind of centered around those policies, because prior to 2014, hardly companies adopted those policies, but gradually over progression of 7-8 years, most of the corporates are trying to adopt that, at least that as a policy, and becoming aware. So today, if you take a percentage, it is more than 50 or 60% is companies at least adopted that as a policy. Now the debate might be that whether that is implemented in full. Fine. First, the policy, the awareness has to be there. Then comes implementation. But the policies are there in place to, arrest the discrimination. That is what the data says. Now, if we say Bloomberg's that gender diversity index, we know that the 2022 gender diversity index, more than 6 or 7 companies like HCL, Wipro, Tech Mahindra, all are appearing there in the gender diversity index on a global level. That also shows that some bit of positive movement there in the corporates. We know that IT and IT-enabled services have adopted first the policies which centered around gender diversity. But in addition to that, now, the consulting firms, and there are many organizations, like Sujoy was also mentioning, manufacturing organizations trying to adopt gender diversity policy, especially if we go with the data in the colleges. If we see last 3 or 4 years data in terms of intake in the engineering colleges, in the MBA, especially in the engineering colleges, if you go for campus hiring, we see the number has gone up, the percentage of female candidates intake has gone up. So corporates are working on making ready the talent pool, and where that they want to bring the gender diversity. 4 or 5 years back data, if we compare with the colleges, different leading colleges, we see there is a uptick, there is a positive progression. That means the corporate is working on and nurturing, wants to nurture the young minds, the female talents, and build them up. Because we know, while talk about R&D sector, innovation in the pharma, we see, because pharma works a lot on the R&D, and there the percentage is pretty up. If we say Dr. Reddy's, the data, and there are a few other companies as well, the percentage of women, there in the, especially in the R&D is quite high. The same thing in the automobile, because there are a lot of research happens, and R&D innovation has been proved to be where women definitely bring a different perspective. And also I'd like to mention that post-COVID, I know that COVID has done a lot of kind of upheaval there, but in terms of enablement to the gender for working for the that has worked in the positive side for female members for an intake in the organization, because flexible working hours and less commuting, all these things now has been adopted and established as reality. And I think after COVID, that has paved the path further, and organizations started to believe that that is giving the option for second career women also, because we know after the COVID, not only the flexible time and those adoption of policies, but also the gig economies has be there. So that's why a lot of second career women, there are a lot of talent, whom untapped potential we could leverage on, who are able to contribute to the corporate, and that's what corporates are working to enable them and to tap on those touched talents. So that's what I just wanted to establish, that corporates are working. There might be dream, but it's not a distant dream. Thank you.
Very well put. A speech that was crisp and delivered with a great deal of aplomb. So we've had two speakers on both sides, and now we come to the final speakers. Now this I'm addressing to both the sides. We'll have a question answer session, but do any of you want a 2-minute summing up time as well to present the overall viewpoint from your side? The team for or team against? The option is yours, but you're free to refuse. So the last two speakers will be Dr. Mahua Datta for the motion and Sribesh for against the motion. I mentioned some outstanding lady professionals. I'll be failing in my duty if I do not mention some outstanding lady entrepreneurs who also, graced our corporate history. Again, in the last century, there were outstanding ladies like Mrs. Priyamvada Birla in Birla House. The most outstanding lady entrepreneur I have met in my life was Mrs. Saraugya Balrampur Chini, who took her sugar mill to a level that it became a benchmark for the sugar industry worldwide. And that's a rare achievement. In recent years, we've seen the incredible progress made by somebody like the Kiran Mazumdar Shaw and Anu Aga or Sangeeta Reddy, the Apollo hospitals. But the point is, these islands of encouragement, these lighthouses in corporate life, may not be the general picture. That's what we are debating. So over to you, Dr. Datta, to tell us why it is a distant dream.
Very good evening, respected moderator.
It's off.
Mic is on.
It's on. Am I audible?
Yeah.
You are. Okay. So, a very hearty good evening to the panel and people present here. I would like to start with a very simple question. All of you sitting here, do you know what the person sitting just next to you had for lunch? No. Do you know what this person sitting next to you would be wearing tomorrow morning? Are you bothered? No. Would you have been bothered if some gentleman sitting next to you would have been in a sari? You would have been, right? That's where I would like to start my words on. With Sujoy, Sampa, we have been talking a lot about inclusion of women in the mainstream corporate, progression of women in the mainstream corporate. We have been hearing a lot of data about all the big houses giving so many facilities for women, but for women. That's where it stops. Is gender limited to men and women, or are there things beyond that? As a person, I have been working very closely with quite a number of third gender people, and all of them are professionals, good professionals doing really good in their societies, in their professional world, in their families. And whenever it comes to gender diversity, whenever it comes to gender equality, we stop at men and women. So let's start with men and women. Why I feel it's still a distant dream, it's because not of the salary gap, not of the paycheck gap, not of the opportunity gap. Personally, I, being an academician and now an entrepreneur, for last 2 years I'm an entrepreneur, prior to that almost 18 years in the academics, I feel the problem is in the mindset. Why I'm saying this is because just last week it happened that in one of the educational institutes who used to operate Monday to Friday declared that Saturday will be a working day, and all the women faculty members came up and said that we cannot come on Saturday because we have child care. Somebody's child is 5 months, somebody's child is 15 years, but child care. Now this set a very wrong vibe in the office with all the male members. And personally, I feel that as women, some of us as women, we have gone into a tendency of taking undue advantage of the facilities that have been provided to us. And I'm sorry if all the women actually feel offended by what I say, but this is something, a very pro-men comment that I would like to make, because as a woman, I have traveled 22 states and taught. Yes, people commented in my office, you don't have children, so you would not understand. And I said, I have 2 elderly people to take care of who are totally dependent on me. So I take care of their daily diet, of their daily medicine, of their cooking and everything that I do at home. And still I travel 22 states and taught. So what I have felt over these years is the diversity begins from within. The inclusion begins from within. I'm sorry, not diversity. The inclusion of diversity begins from within. So before we equate the paychecks, before we go into the facilities, the first is a mindset training that needs to be given both to men and women, that it's a person who is working next to you, not a man or a woman or of any gender. Few months back, I met somebody who now goes by the name Aparna, who's a transgender. And I prefer to address her as she because she prefers a she. So she has completed her master's and she was working with a very big corporate house. I had thought not of naming it, but now I am, called GE. And just because she was wearing sari, she was not sacked by the company, but she had to resign because of the ridicule that she faced by the team members. And today she is happy clapping on the traffic signals, being some head of some of their communities. And she says that by clapping, if I can make 25,000, who cares for that job? But yeah, that's definitely very degrading for me as well. So why I felt and why I spoke for the motion is because the gender diversity inclusion is a distant dream, and it will remain a distant dream till we keep limiting it to men, women. Until and unless we include and conceptualize and perceive gender as much beyond that, until and unless we start thinking that it's a person working in a corporate and not man and woman, we are never going to achieve that dream. It's only going to remain in data as 15% companies have women CEOs. What about people below that? Thank you.
Thank you, Mahua. Indeed, a very, very inspiring speech, and she did give us a rude awakening about the disturbance that we feel internally. If I see somebody who is achieving what I will coin crossover in diversity, if a man dresses as a woman, or if wears a garment that is perceived as feminine. That was a really interesting example that you gave, and I'm very grateful to you for setting that example. In fact, I often wonder if diversity is helped by the fact that the people in charge are themselves committed to diversity. And I remember one specific instance. I was staying at the Lalit in Delhi, and the promoter group of that hotel chain, there is somebody who believes in diversity because he is himself being very open about it. So they declared an HR policy saying that we will recruit, as a matter of policy, individuals of diverse gender as part of the hotel services. And as you said, the mindset, the immediate reaction from some other users of that fantastic hotel in Delhi was, I think next time I'll book at the Oberoi or something. So I said, which universe are you living in? Which century are you existing that you can even say, no, why would a hotel do this? It is, so this is the mindset that does exist. And I'm sure it exists in every country in the world. So the last speaker, Sribesh, do you feel threatened by the other side? No, please. The floor is all yours. The last 5 minutes, and the last speaker for this afternoon, for this evening, maybe give him a loud round of applause. We had a sparkling debate.
Yeah, I'm the last speaker today, and it's quite nice listening to everyone, actually. So I'm going to say, Yeah, it's on. I think am I audible?
You are, sir.
Yeah. So I still believe and believing that it's not a distant dream. So just I'll start from the historical perspective. In India as a country always believed in, we all hear that Ardha Narishwar. So we as a creature is a part of man and woman both, whether it is Purusa, Prakriti, Shiva, Shakti. So that is what the very concept of Indian culture. In Vedic era also we saw many philosophers like Gargi, Maitri contributed to our Rig Veda. There are a lot of women rishis were there, Indrani, Poonam. So that is how the very historical background of Indian culture. It is true that post-Vedic era, due to many reasons, India has gone through a lot of historical phases where child marriage, widow burning, Parda, a lot of things happened, and that is where has created some problem for the nations for the growth of the female in the society. That what we call as diversity differences that is created by some historical logic, some historical happening. But now in 20th century, we see that the way India has come up, the legislation, the political systems, the constitutions, which is supporting the way that Dipsika told, Article 15, Article 14, and all these articles which told by someone 14 to 21 is supporting how women can participate freely in anything in India. We talk about in Act that Hindu Marriage Act, Special Marriage Act, there are Hindu Succession Act. All these acts speak about women's how they can take part in all the aspects in our society, and the law, everything is supporting them. In the corporate, Sujoy spoke about how women is coming up. And there are examples from ITC. There's a few days back, there's a survey done by CIEL, one consultancy. It said that in 369 companies, every year the female population is increasing by 10% in the workforce. So that is what it says. It's not a distant dream. The way we're achieving our dream is very fast. Cricket world, we see it has been decided that both will be paid same. It's a sign that India is ready to take up the challenges. It is already ready. Then there's a company called GE, and they have a plant at Bangalore where all the shop floor employees are female. So we are giving them that opportunity where female is required, female will be employing. Even there are areas in our corporate work life like receptionists, there are areas in air hostesses where they have monopoly. Then no men can counter them, then no men can take their job because they have created a monopoly on those areas. There are female entrepreneurs, as he was naming few. I will just add one or two more names: Falguni Nair, Naika Aditi Gupta, Kiran Mojumdar, Vaikon, Radhika Soft Clues. These are the example how women entrepreneurs are coming up taking the center stage. In 1980, 10% students in engineering college were girls. Now it is 40%. The parents are ready to send their kids to the colleges, and they are promoting them. All parents are now conscious. They have also understood that they can make a difference. So, at no way it can be distance dream. We are ready. Yes, there may be certain challenges due to historical background, but that is fast, very speed. We can see that the way things are moving, societal changes, corporate life. And days to come also, we'll see women will rule the corporate world. I have just a quotation from the Albert Einstein, and he said once, the woman who follows the crowd will usually go no farther than the crowd. The woman who walks alone is likely to find herself in a place no one else has ever been before. Women today more than ever before have gone against the main dominated society and cultures. Year after year, confident, courageous, intelligent, determined women taking shape everywhere. When we talk about pay differences in HR department, when you recruit someone as a HR manager, we don't see that whether it is female or male. Even in many space, in many ways, we never compare that whether it is a male or it is female. The salary is given on that their caliber, their talent, their personalities, their skill set, and that is how things are shaping up. If there are differences, I think that will be taken care of just like in cricket in days to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Sribesh, and thank you for taking us through an entire timeline of. No, I think this mic belongs to your table. And we will now open the floor to a couple of questions. But before we do that, you'd like to sum up?
Yes,
oh, good for you. So the the for side is ready for summing up against, because according to parliamentary procedure, the opposition sums up first, and then the Prime Minister has the last word. So the Prime Minister in waiting, Sujoy, you also look like Prime Minister here meeting. Please, Sujoy, over to you.
Okay, on behalf of the team, what I would like to sum up is we have put on the table quite a number of data points which goes to show that it is not a distant dream. While we appreciate what Mahua told us, there is a need to look inwards and figure out that whether we are mentally, as a society, because an organization is a microcosm of the society, as a society, first of all, are we willing to include people from other genders? So that's very, very important. And I can assure you that what the example about Lalit was given by Pradeep, a similar initiative has also been done by Tata Steel in West Bokaro, where they have recruited 14 transgender people operating heavy earth moving machinery equipment and the West Bokaro division, and they are working in the mines. And as another example, in our organization, Gainwell, we are very clear, our next set of recruitments, we want to, first of all, through a CSR, make LGBTQ population employable through technical training, and then offer them to our customers to whom we sell Caterpillar equipment or take them on our shop floor. So we're very clear on that. And I think these sort of awakenings are happening across, be it in Sribesh's company or Shampa's company or any of the corporates represented out here. But yes, till now gender is defined by men and women, because that's the way the world looks at it, or India looks at it, I wouldn't call the world. But yes, we need to be more inclusive. But again, I would like to reiterate on behalf of the team, it is not a distant dream. The corporate India and the society has awakened. Unfortunate incident example which Mahua gave us shouldn't have happened. But then corporate India is waking up. It is woken up already. And the other genders, including men and women, will be part of the mainstream corporate India. And I can assure you that at least in organizations that I have worked and currently working, there is no disparity of compensation. It is based on competency. It is based on performance, period. Nothing beyond that. And we go to colleges where we only recruit with mandate from the senior leadership team, only recruit women engineers. And now we get women engineers working in underground mines. In Jhajra, which is close to Durgapur, in Hindustan Zinc, in Rajasthan, women are willing to go underground and work in the mines on heavy equipment. So the start has begun. We've taken into the third gear. We need to move into the fourth gear. That's it.
Thank you, Sujoy. Who will sum up for the motion? Yeah, okay. So Asif, you need the mic. Yeah, this one.
So let me know when my time is up. I love Mike. We just heard the statistics and different data point. 15% of CEOs of the 500 fortunes are ladies. Did we forget or conveniently ignore the fact that 85% are not?
Absolutely.
Right? We heard so many names like Kiran Majumdar and others. But ladies and gentlemen, these are exceptions, not the rules. Ladies and gentlemen, another things we heard, Sujeta just mentioned a wonderful initiative that started by. We are still in a distant dream because we should not be even talking about whether Asif is blind or whether Pradeepta is normal or whether Sujeta is doing wonderful in terms of ladies and gentlemen. We should have all, can we live in an ideal world where everyone is treated equally with respect. This is definitely not happening in 2022, whether we live in the US or whether we live in India. Certainly not in India. Ladies and gentlemen, other things that I wanted to point out. Mahua, my colleague, just pointed out about the issue on third gender. How many of us are actually conscious of that fact? Can you believe it? I still meet people around the world, even in India, in different public forums, and they still don't think that I am an associate director at a consulting company. Why? Because I'm blind. Then, ladies and gentlemen, this stigma, this change, the change of acceptance, this will only come from people like you and me, which make up the corporates. At the top, sitting in the boardroom, making policies is very, very easy. Of course, they take a lot of, based on the data decisions. Implementations, I'm not saying that it is not done, but the pace of change is absolutely slow. Can we reach to that destination where we no longer have this kind of discussions of gender equality or pay parity? Can we live in a world, or can we have that corporate where we don't even have salary negotiations in terms of gender or whatever? We still have a long way to go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Just a few lines. Absolutely, because we are having a friendly debate. So
I'll add, there's a part in the world, Nordic countries, if you heard about them, they have already achieved almost this inclusiveness. So they are female and male population, they're equally participating in corporates and many part of their life. So almost equal, and they have a lot of policies which are in place, like 40% of any vendors have to be in the board. Similarly, in India also, if you see in 2013, SEBI has passed on rule that we have to have female board members in our country, and now they are doing a lot of audits.
So sir, to respond to you, why do we have to law or legislation, right? Why doesn't it happen on a voluntary basis?
Absolutely correct. But see, so that change cannot take one. You said it is a distance change, but it's not a distance. To make it near in days to come, it has to be. It has to be very bring in place that.
Asif, in order to manage corporates, have to have governance in this country, you need to have laws, and therefore laws are necessary to have certain binding regulations on this organization. And what SEBI has done is basically a reflection of the awareness that women power is a power which brings in diversity and innovation. I think that's a recognition we need to give. So law is something which is also a subset of governance in a society.
But I think at this juncture,
okay, before we have
the opposition,
loud protest from the opposition
sentence.
and walking out,
Yeah.
please conclude.
No, it's not a loud protest. I think as for the motion, we should thank the opposition for actually helping us out by setting the tone that the awakening has just begun. So
They're friendly people. They are very friendly people, but their intention was not to help you out. They approached the debate in a very professional manner. Yes.
I just wanted to add one line, because we have to also see the situation where from we have started. And this is, we are talking about mindset change and transition. That doesn't happen overnight. So we have to see from where we started the journey, how we are progressing, so that we have to be aware of the entire context. And we are talking about the total mindset change, the transition. That takes time. So when everyone is talking about pace and speed, that's what I thought probably it's pertinent to mention.
Okay. Very
10% to 40% students.
Now there will be a walkout, surely.
So you have to understand how the fast pace the change is happening.
I think we have understood very clearly that the speakers for the motion are saying that we have reached a situation, we have made some progress, but the progress is not anything that should even make us remotely complacent. The risks, the woes, the problems, the difficulties far outweigh whatever little progress we have made. On this side, the speakers against the motion, Sujoy in particular, used an example which I really liked. He said, it's not that we have not applied the self-starter. We are actually in third gear. Of course, there's room for progress, but we are already achieved a considerable distance. And the many examples given by Sribesh and Sampa actually reinforce that, this viewpoint. So, as I said, I appear to exercise a little more authority than the speaker in the Indian Parliament because both sides are still listening to me before you start throwing eggs and tomatoes. So, all I will say in conclusion is that I'm so glad that we are having this debate because more than any other political party, this party was founded by individuals in which the two genders recognized at that point in time were equally respected. Right? Not the Tories or the Labour in England, not the Democrats or the Republicans. So I think we Indians have every right to feel proud of some of the very good things we've done. And as I say often in debates, Asif, you've heard me before, yes. We granted universal adult franchise before 80% of Europe granted universal adult franchise to every male individual, every adult individual. So I think there are things we have made considerable progress, but now we will have no fighting, question answer session. Please, gentlemen, yes.
So I started off the discussion. Do I need one?
You don't need mic.
You don't need mic. You have a fan following here, madam.
So I started off this discussion when I mentioned that 1974 was the year when we started off with the Indian government spoke about towards equality report. From there to, as Sujoy was mentioning, Shampati was mentioning that 4.7% is the participation in becoming the CEO. So what is the pace of growing? And are we really moving? If we are moving, then we are moving at a speed of a snail, and it is not acceptable. Even if you look at the parliament, 33%, that is what Rahul Gandhi has been mentioning, harping on again and again, the participation of females in the parliament. We are far away from that. And if this is the condition, we don't know by when we are going to reach there. At all, we are never going to reach there as a country, as a nation or not. So somebody can answer from the four sides.
You'd like to answer? Yes, please, Poonam.
You have correctly put it together. In the initial part, I wanted to put this. While many urban corporates are focusing on discrimination-free environment, but let me tell you, this report, while we are talking about data and everything, this report has come from Gender Gap by the World Economic Forum, which suggests that at the current rate, the way women are being hired and been achieving the progressive world, women may have to wait around 135 years to bridge this gap completely. And this means that more of 3 to 5 generations have to wait to accept to get that dutiful low, and I guess that's pretty low for a place where we are standing, doing, making our point valid, proving ourselves, taking a career break when it comes, especially when I was going for the data, it was saying 24% of the working women take career break due to parental responsibilities. So 1 out of 4 women take that. So while we were talking about this, I think the exact point that Dipshika brought up is this. So I rest my case over here. I believe Mahua has something to say.
Now we need some gender disparity in questions also. Yes, I can see my friend raising his hand. He will need a mic. Madam, can I trouble you? There's a mic.
There's a mic.
You're giving it to me. It's not a question, but a comment to add on to what you have said, Pradeep. That to start with, when you spoke about Indian National Congress, I would like to add to this that while Priyanka Gandhi, though badly defeated in UP when she led the election, she ensured that there were 40% of more representation in the women among the seats which she declared. I think it's sad that though Indian Congress could not do it, but somewhere it has started moving and
Maybe if you come ahead a little bit, the wire community is here. Because the internet color.
So I'm going to add to that.
No, I think something is wrong there. Switch it off.
You can switch it off. Add to that, we're talking about shop floors in the cars. Yes, you might have heard already that Tata has got possibly for the Safari and
check.
For Harrier and Safari, the entire assembly line is now managed by women. The entire, right? Entire. And you were talking about Nordic countries, Sribesh. I hate one of the company in Bangladesh, and I know if I say that something has made me change working in that company, they are really much ahead, and I think they are leading the world. Most of these companies are leading the world in this aspect. And to add to what you were saying once again, I think some of the boldest decision India as a country has taken was under the tenure of Mrs. Indira Gandhi. I think that only speaks about how far we can go. Thank you.
I think the point he's making is that while we make progress, very often leadership matters. And at the present juncture, it may not be irrelevant to say that we now have an incoming Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Chandrachud, who is one of the most progressive justices that I have, whose judgments I have seen in recent years. I'm a very small man. He's the incumbent Chief Justice. He's the incoming Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. But some of his judgments really struck a chord. Such openness, the ability and the width of vision to recognize that everybody's rights are as important, be it a VIP or be it a person on the street. Yes, Mahua, you want to say this?
Yeah, on this note, I would just like to point out that since for so many years I have been teaching sales and marketing, I have been hearing a lot about women being accepted on the shop floors, women engineers being recruited and all. And yet, at least there are 25 to 30 parents who come and ask me that, ma'am, quote unquote, আমার মেয়ে কি মার্কেটিং নিয়ে পড়তে পারবে, মেয়েদের কি মার্কেটিং পড়া উচিত, क्या मेरी बेटी को मार्केटिंग और सेल्स में स्पेशलाइज करना चाहिए? So this question, I keep wondering that as a marketing professional, I have been practicing, and while with the academics for recruiting the students and grooming them up and all, I could not answer a lot of girls' questions when they asked, why does the paint industry does not take women? Why are there so many companies whose channel distribution, the channel network jobs are not for women? And when I asked the HRs, the reply which I got is, in general, work environment is not very woman friendly. It's not very conducive for the woman to work with the distributors. The kind of people who are the dealers and distributors are not the kind of people women will be able to deal with and all. Now that's again a very big question, that if the dealer, distributor and all are creating a very scary environment for women, can corporate heads or the HRs do much? So when we discuss about this gender diversity in the corporate, it has to, again, I go back to it, that it begins with the mindset, because the atmosphere that has been created in several parts of our country are not very women friendly. So that is where the corporates do not want to take the risk of putting women in those kind of jobs. So being accepted on the shop floor, or maybe in the what do we call it, the chair table kind of job, may not be the ultimate solution.
Mahua, I wouldn't use the word
question or a comment?
No, I just want to add on with a bit of a modification what she said.
The floor.
Yeah. No, I'm not crossing the floor. What I'm trying to say is that what you said in terms of corporates having hesitation in giving certain types of jobs to women, it is there. I wouldn't deny it. But then the corporates are now also again, I will take examples which I have done in my organization. We are into heavy equipment, basically of Caterpillar. So typically the people who use those equipment, as you said, the dealers, the distributors, are not so educated or socially conscious, I would use the word. So what we do is we make them job shadow with one of the guys who is in the market, and give her that comfort, and also make the customer on the other side conscious that henceforth she will be attending to your calls, even if it's a service call or a product call. So the corporates are also making those steps to educate the larger ecosystem in which they operate, because it has to be a two-way process. Society needs to educate and be conscious. The corporates, which is a microcosm of society, also needs to do a reverse mentoring of the customers on the other side.
Thank you. It's always very encouraging. There is a frantic signaling from the back row saying that your time is up, the lights will go off, the mics will be switched off. So, okay, 1 point. Huh? Very quickly.
Somebody please give a young.
I'm grateful to Sujoy that he is agreed that it is still a distant dream.
No, he's not agreed.
He's not a distant dream. Actually, it's a dream, but not a distant dream.
He's just a friendly debater.
Yeah,
He's nothing more.
Thank you for letting me speak. I know there's a paucity of time. I just want to share. I am from Motorvolt. My name is Manohar. We make electric two-wheels out of Calcutta. Ma'am mentioned a point that marketing, in general, in marketing, people are not interested to join, or there's probably a scare that what would be the dealer's reaction. What we have seen in our organization is that close to 40% of our team are actually from the, I would say, fair gender. So we see great hope that things are actually moving forward, especially in the, I would say, startup kind of environment where there are probably no mindset issues that probably X gender should do Y kind of a role. So definitely change is happening. And I think Mr. Asif made a point that probably one of the speakers made a point that at this rate of growth, we will take 150 years. But I would like to slightly give my own perspective that it won't be linear growth. I think once we reach a critical mass, I think the adoption will be I think what happens in any product, the same thing can be applied to policy. Once probably we reach a threshold of 15 or 20%, we will see that the transition to probably 70-80% will happen in probably half a decade. So I think we can hope for the best. I think it was a great session. Thank you.
Thank you. So it will not be 9.8 meters per second square, but it will accelerate as it acquires more. Thank you. You are up for the Nobel Prize in Physics sooner rather than later after Sir Isaac Newton. So with these few words, we will close this session. And luckily, I belong to the media, and in the media, we've had acceptance of gender for a very long time. Asif will possibly remember. 16 years ago, I had a colleague, Shreya Roy, who was orally challenged, and everybody said, you can't have a reporter who cannot, do whatever. I said, yes, you can, because she used to write most fantastic economic editorials and do wonderful book reviews. And she was also one of the most mischievous juniors I've ever managed in the office, hiding tiffin boxes, having my luchi for lunch, and leaving other stuff behind. So it was a delight. It was a lesson for all of us. So, but again, whether we are in third gear or we are 150 years behind, that is for you to carry away from this hall. But if we are the change that we want to be, then definitely it will not be 150 years. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so very much. And I'm very thankful to Mr. Pradeep today. I know he has done a wonderful job and he exactly knew where to put a full stop. Otherwise, the session could have gone on and on. It had been a really, really good session. Before I proceed, I would like to inform everybody here in this floor that we have amongst us Mr. Anando Kundu from TV Today, Mr. Sumit Sen Guptu, Director of Annapurna Swadhisht, and Mr. Manohar Vidyapeeth, Head of Motorvolt. As he was asking the question, we all know him now. Okay, so I know everybody will agree on this that we had a really interesting session. And some of our speakers here have made really good points, very interesting points for us to ponder on, which we have never thought of before, but now definitely we have those points in our mind which we are going to think about. So thank you everyone for taking time out this evening and spending with us today. I hope everybody had a very fruitful evening today, and we all have something to take back to. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, our esteemed panelists. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and thank you everyone on the floor.
I think the audience deserves enormous appreciation for their presence and the questions they asked. Thank you.
Thank you. May I please call upon Mr. Pradeep Banerjee to ask the Secretary of the AITC, West Bengal, for the ceremonial moment.
Start from.
We start off now. Ms. Poonam Mundhra.
Can we have a group photograph after the session is over? That will be very valuable to all of
Ms.
us.
Sampa Bhowmick. Ms. Mahua Datta. Okay, this one is Ms. Poonam Datta, and that one was for Mr. Sujoy Banerjee. Thank you, Mr. Sribesh. And thank you. That was a very enthusiastic debating, Mr. Asif. Thank you. Thank you for none the least, Mr. Pradeep Gooptu. Thank you.
As Chandra has mentioned, probably this is for the first time we are having this kind of discussions where gender diversity has been put on front. And I'll make very short because I have been asked to say only 2 words. So thank you, maybe the word. But I'll share 2 gender diversity examples from my own life. The best thing that I could have done for myself was that I married a lady whom I reported in my first job.
Oh, wow, that's a great example.
And on a other sense, I was heading one of the operations where there was a lot of attrition happening around. So the best thing that I could have done is that I put 2 women within the group and the attrition stopped. So first of all, respected members, panelists. So respect, it's a great honor to have you on board. And AIPC's the way AIPC is doing it is to have these kind of discussions, and probably this will enable AIPC to have a right platform and give a gender diversity related issues to the, because we all belong to the Congress parties. So we want to give these kind of infos to the parent parties, and all of you are helping us in this one. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Banerjee. Can I call upon Mr. Pradeep to give us a vote of thanks?
Thank you, Sumbul. That was some debate. First of all, I'd like to thank our esteemed guests who have taken the time off and been a part of our endeavor. Mr. Gooptu, Chairman Sir, thank you for moderating this debate in a most befitting manner. Thank you all speakers for the motion, against the motion, for your time and interest. All your arguments and views and insight will surely be understood and recognized and will go a long way to bring about change. I would now like to thank Mr. President, Mr. Chandan Ghosh, for being a beacon in our exemplary leader to all of us in AIPC West Bengal. Secretary Rajdip Banerjee, thank you for your efforts, sincerity and to show us direction. Then of course, team diversity. Kingshuk and team, thank you so much for working tirelessly against all odds and make this event another success story. Once again, thank you, Kingshuk. We at AIPC, as we all know, are not mainstream politicians, but we are here for a cause. We are professionals and want to make a difference for the people of our country. That is why we identify issues like this and bring the country down and deal with them in the way we are to bring change. And last but not the least, thank you each and every member of the AIPC who is here for being here and supporting this event. Thank you for being such a wonderful audience. Thank you press, thank you Senator Hotel, thank you Sumbul, thank you Raulda, thank you Bipshika, thank you all. Thank you for coming. Okay, now we shall move to the next room for our